Binance is facing its biggest threat in its 6 years of existence. And I, for one, am terrified of what's to come. But they could never go down like FTX, right? This is Binance that we're talking about after all. Well, after doing a ton of research, I think that Binance could face a similar fate as FTX. And to understand my reason why, we gotta look at 3 main points. Starting with the fact that Binance has been getting whacked left and right by lawsuits and investigations. The SEC recently sued Binance US and its founder Changpeng Zhao for 13 charges related to securities violations. They accused Binance of wash trading and illegally selling their BNB and BUSD tokens as unregistered securities. This lawsuit caused BNB to fall below $300 for the first time since March. And this time, it was unable to recover that key psychological price level, which is important to remember because that becomes relevant later in our case. But even before the SEC lawsuit, CZ and former Chief Compliance Officer Samuel Lin were both charged by the CFTC for their shady and illegal behavior. What's even more worrisome is that the CFTC seeks to impose a permanent trading and registration ban on the exchange, which means that they'd never be able to do business in the US again, even if they settle or clean up their act. But that's not all, because the US Department of Justice is also investigating the exchange, this time on criminal grounds. Former SEC Enforcement Chief John Reed Stark predicts that the DOJ will file, or has already filed, a sealed criminal indictment against Binance and its top executives. Stark believes the DOJ is looking into charges relating to money laundering, fraud, and obstruction of justice. All I know is that if any of that turns out to be true, it would be game over for CZ. Doesn't matter if he's hiding out in the Middle East. For a criminal charge, the long arms of the law will be able to get him in any major jurisdiction besides perhaps China or Russia. Now, just a few weeks ago, Binance lost its Chief Strategy Officer, Vice President of Compliance, and General Counsel all at the same time. While they said it was for personal reasons, you gotta admit that the timing was suspicious. After all, there were rumors that the executives were not happy with how CZ was handling the DOJ investigation, so they left, because they didn't want to face any potential jail time themselves. All I'll say is that those execs leaving was eerily similar to how Sam Trabucco left Alameda Research a few months before that and FTX collapsed. By the way, it's not just the US agencies that are targeting Binance. Over in Europe, Binance is also facing a ton of heat. Their French office is under investigation for aggravated money laundering, and they're also accused of illegally offering crypto services in France. A few hours before that investigation hit the news, Binance also announced that they were rejected by the Dutch regulators, so they had to leave that market as well. Over in Australia, their securities watchdog raided the local Binance office in the beginning of July. And that came a month after Binance halted Australian dollar transfers and trading pairs. So it almost seems as if there was a coordinated effort to squeeze the exchange from around the world. And CZ can't just say for and wave this all off as a coincidence. But if you think these lawsuits are bad for Binance, then hold tight, because my second point is worse. And that's the fact that their global business is getting strangled by regulators, and that's directly choking off their revenue stream. At the end of June, Europe's largest economy, Germany, decided not to grant Binance a crypto custody license. That same day, Binance announced that they lost their Euro banking partner, PaySafe, which means that Binance would need to find a new banking partner in order to continue serving the Euro markets. Around that same time, Binance also withdrew its license application from Austria due to pressure from that regulator. And on June 23rd, Belgium's top market regulator ordered the exchange to cease operations in their country effective immediately. They said that Binance was in violation of a prohibition by offering wallet services from countries outside the European Economic Area, and they threatened Binance with criminal sanctions if they did not stop. Over in the UK, the exchange's situation seems even more complicated, as the country's financial regulator cancelled multiple permissions that were already granted to Binance in the past. The odd thing here is that Binance supposedly requested that cancellation themselves, which means they may be quitting the UK market by their own choice. Not really sure what's going on there. But honestly, while these lawsuits and crackdowns are worrisome, it's my last point that could really lead them to an FTX-like meltdown. And that's their shady relationship with TrueUSD or TUSD. You see, Binance started promoting the TUSD stablecoin in February after New York regulators forced Paxos to stop minting Binance USD or BUSD. But their decision to turn to TUSD turned out to be a bad one because TrueUSD had its own slew of problems. For example, one of their custodian partners, Prime Trust, was ordered to cease operations on June 21st due to insolvency concerns. And while TrueUSD claimed that they did not have any exposure to Prime Trust, the markets did not believe them. And that caused TUSD to briefly lose its peg. I don't blame the markets, by the way, because the TrueUSD team is not transparent at all. Like, they won't even share who their banking partners really are. Also, 1 week later, their reserve report came out showing that they had a $26,000 hole from some of their assets being stuck on Prime Trust. While that's not really that big of an amount, it did cause the price of TUSD to drop all the way down to 80 cents on Binance US. By the way, this whole ordeal gets super weird because guess which auditing firm put out that reserve report for TrueUSD? Well, it's called the Network Firm, which is actually the same firm that did audits for FTX US back in the day. They were formerly known as Armanino, but they rebranded to escape all the fallout from FTX. So when crypto Twitter caught wind of this, they sounded the alarms, and some people even found out that TUSD gets their price oracle data from one source, the Network Firm, aka their disgraced auditing firm. I mean, what the heck is going on here, right? To add fuel to the fire, the data analytics firm Chain Argos put out some analysis which shows that TUSD is not even currently redeemable. So there's definitely something wrong here, and TrueUSD still proceeded with minting an additional $2 billion worth of their stablecoin, even with all this FUD swirling around. So they are bold, if nothing else. Now, in terms of how Binance is connected to all this, well, they hold nearly 90% of TUSD's supply, and they continue promoting the use of that stablecoin on their exchange. The TUSD held on Binance skyrocketed from around 460 million to 2.6 billion on July 6th. And that makes the fate of Binance and TUSD intricately tied. Binance better hopes that nothing happens to TUSD, or else that may be the domino that starts their collapse. And this brings me to their own token, BNB, by the way, which, to be honest, does not really inspire a lot of confidence in me either. BNB has fallen over 20% since the SEC lawsuit was released, and analysts speculate that CZ is defending the critical level of $220, much like how Alameda tried to keep FTT above $22. They say that we could see the biggest liquidation in crypto history if BNB falls below $220, as that would cost $200 million worth of positions on Venus protocol to be liquidated. There's also rumors that CZ's personal market maker firm, Sigma Chain, could get margin called and their BNB collateral instantly liquidated if the token were to fall too low. But beyond these rumors and speculation, is CZ really defending that $220 mark? Well, there are some signs that point to this. For one, some traders observed large chunks of BTC being sold off on Binance for USDT, which was then aggressively pumped back into BNB. That was all done in a systematic manner, and it was really apparent if you looked at the charts. So that's why people accuse them of wash trading BNB to prop up its value. While CZ denies those allegations, the fact that there is so much smoke makes me convinced that there's fire in the house of Binance. Now, before you sell all your BNB, hold up, because I want to share some nuance so you can't just accuse me of only fudding. For one, Binance's relationship with BNB is not quite the same as FTX's relationship with FTT. FTT was used as collateral to borrow stablecoins, and we haven't seen any evidence that Binance is doing the same. Also, Binance has much more intrinsic demand than FTT, as it's also used by their BNB blockchain. Second, Binance is the world's largest crypto exchange, still controlling over 41% of the global spot market. So while the exchange may be pressured out of the EU and US, it can use this opportunity to expand to more crypto-friendly jurisdictions like the UAE, Hong Kong, and Singapore. So where does all this leave Binance and CZ? Well, here's my hot take. I think that CZ will pay $1 billion fine and step down as a CEO of Binance. But ultimately, he does not do any jail time. Without him steering the ship though, I think they slowly lose market share, which is gobbled up by traditional finance players like BlackRock. And speaking of BlackRock, they have chosen their crypto niche, and I'm investing like crazy into projects within that niche. To find out what that niche is, just watch this video right here.